back. We're here with Justin from Certifications for Life, Inc. Justin, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you very much, Easton, for having me. I'm glad to be part of this, and I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It is very busy, but I'm very excited to go into the fall. Very, very excited for nice weather, sweatshirt weather. So I'm excited to dive into your specifics and your expertise. So can you kind of talk about, in the beginning of you starting this business, why did you decide to get into the certification industry?
So I'm going to give you the short answer for time and everything like that. So before moving into the business, I was a lifeguard. And in my experience of being in leadership, one of the opportunities that was provided to me was to become a trainer. Very quickly, I moved up the ranks where I was a director of health and safety training. And as I was training people for that company, I was getting hired by current staff members, former staff members to work privately for their needs for certification training. And it basically got big where the American Red Cross basically said to me that I needed to open up a business
Wow.
and I needed to, get licensed to run, this as a business. So this is where this all began.
And when the Red Cross did come to you and they said, "Hey, Justin, we want you to open up your own business," how did that make you feel?
Oh, I was scared. I was absolutely mortified. My background is education and training and human resources. When they said that to me, if you asked me 10, 15 years ago, I would have said to you, I would have never opened up a business. I'm just here to do training. At the same time that I was really scared, I was excited that there was an opportunity to even start a business. I have been around many, individuals that have their own businesses. I've seen how they've worked. I've gone into follow business owners in certain opportunities. So I was excited and nervous at the same time. And I'll never forget when I received the application from the Red Cross to, fill out all the required paperwork. And I kept saying, there is no way that this is going to pass through. I remember one of the questions was asking me about zoning boards and marketing. This was literally a 5-minute conversation that I had with a representative from the Red Cross. And I go, oh, geez, this is going to be something that they're going to kick back and say, you are not ready for this. I took 2 or 3 days to fill out the application, which was a business plan. And it obviously taught me a lot because that format obviously has further developed year after year, to promote the business.
And something we actually talked about off camera, and you just touched on it now, is the fact that you looked at these questions about marketing, about zoning, and you're like, I don't have any clue what this means. I don't have any experience doing marketing or zoning. How did you kind of go about maneuvering and jumping into a business where you don't really know exactly what to do, but you still needed to get it done?
So I'm going to go from what my parents have taught me. My parents have always taught me that you have to put in the hard work, and that means you have to do your own individualized research. That may be as you're, doing the research, which I did do. I reached out to professionals that I knew did this type of work, and basically sat down with a business owner. I sat down with the business owner. We went through the plan. She basically looked at it and she said, this is what you need to do to fine tune things in order to answer the questions. I will never forget going into an accountant's office. The accountant who we, started off with, and I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to embarrass the individual. He was a fantastic accountant. But I remember when he first looked at this, he did not take me seriously because, again, I was a neighbor. It was a little rough around the edges. And I remember that the business owner that also used the same accountant must have had a conversation and said there was a business plan in motion. It just needed to be worked out just like any other new business. And we came out with that model. And basically, as I said, I'm the type of person where you have to put the blood, sweat, and tears in.
Yeah.
And I am not the individual that's going to go around asking for everyone to do the work for me. I'm going to do it myself, which is what I did do and what I continue to do. And if I don't have an answer to something, I'm going to dig for that information, research it, and ask the team around me, which is the next step, is surrounding yourself with team members or individuals that are professionals in the industry to guide you. You know, you can't be an expert in everything, and that is something that I'm still continuing to learn. That, you know, keyword delegation,
Yes.
and asking the questions with follow up. So those are things that I have done across the way, and I'm continuing to do. As I tell other business owners, if you're not learning, you're not doing, and if you're not learning or doing, you're not growing.
And I think, as you mentioned, the number one thing is experience. Is we might be super nervous, we might not even know what we're doing, but jump in and get experience, and that's the best way to learn. You can read about it, you can think about it, you can worry about it, but the best way is actually jumping in and getting that experience. And can you talk about what type of certifications you guys do offer to the public?
Absolutely. So we offer a huge flush of courses. We primarily offer American Red Cross, CPR, AED, first aid training, and American Heart Association, CPR and AED training. In short, we really work with every type of individual, from those that are learning this for, you know, personal reasons, to professional reasons, for simple job market, reasons, to our healthcare professionals that are, you know, that are nurses, doctors, physical therapists, dental hygienists, that work in healthcare facilities that need to have this certification. Besides the CPR suite, we have a huge suite in aquatics. This is where it all, you know, really began. We run lifeguard training, we run instructor level training. We offer, besides the American Red Cross and the American, Heart Association training, we offer a certified pool operator training, which has now opened up a new niche of clientele that are managers that are coming out to these pools and have no clue of what they're getting themselves into, and they need to have certification training. So it's really an awesome, flux of courses, and the style of the courses are, you know, instructor led, which basically an instructor's there on property, or you're, you know, at our facility where we're, you know, teaching it from the beginning to the end, or we do the blended learning format, which is our real niche population for the busy individual that needs to attend a training or is interested in training, but needs a very specific window of time to get the work done.
And one of the things that you really, really pride yourself on is your instructors that you do hire. Can you kind of talk about what are the things, or what are three skills that you really focus on when hiring an instructor to make sure that those people going through the courses are taught correctly?
So first thing is proper training. Absolutely, you know, proper training. We have the in-house tools to provide the training to individuals that are interested in becoming an instructor, because we're going to teach you the correct methods as you're going through your instructor training. We have a full house of instructor trainers, including myself, that can, you know, provide that training. So step one is being properly trained. The second step is really strong interpersonal communication skills. You have to have the innate ability to get up in front of a class size anywhere ranging from one person up to 30 plus people in a course.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to conduct yourself in a, you know, in a fashion that can lead that class, but also do it in a way that is humble and open. You know, you want your, you know, I want the customers coming in our courses to feel welcome and to feel that their questions are being answered and that their learning needs are being met. So one, as I mentioned before, is strong instructor training directly from us. The second thing is strong interpersonal communication skills. And the last thing that's really important is the ability to stay up to date. Strong organizational skills, staying up to date and being on top of current trends and changes in the curriculum, and knowing how to work with your instructor materials and your trainer materials to, you know, become an expert in the content that you're teaching. And that's learning and doing and teaching as you go through are the three biggest things that we look forward to in a candidate before bringing them onto the team.
And one of these things that you guys do have, which we actually talked about this right before, is we do it right the first time. Can you talk about what that means to you guys?
I'm going to go from being a customer and being a consumer. You know, when we are looking for vendors to do services for us, I want to know that it's being done correctly the first time. I want to know that the money that I am shelling out to pay for the training is being paid for that specific training, and that I don't hear back from the vendor saying, well, I made a mistake. I need to go back and redo it, and you need to spend more money, because those are the, two signs that there's a problem with the format. So we spend the time getting to know the client. We basically, do a consultation to see if the fit is correct for both the customer and for ourselves, whether it's the business or an individual. And we spend the time answering the questions. We want to hear everything that you have to ask for, because you do need to feel comfortable coming into the door. Then the next step is, after you go through the registration process, we want to make sure we deliver it correctly, and that the funds that are being used to pay us for the training, you get the certification within the time frame that is expected, and that we're doing a good job. We're doing it, we're doing it the way that it is outlined. So it's important to me, and I say this to any person who comes in the door. It would be more embarrassing for me to have to call someone and say, the instructor made a mistake, we have to redo the training, we have to retrain everyone. That's a no-go. No one has time for that. And that is a customer killer, as I like to say. If you are making those mistakes and you are not correctly overseeing that process, you're going to lose customers very quickly.
And it seems like to me, you mentioned earlier that you learned about hard work from your parents, and that is something that is a skill, or that is a aspect of your character that drives the business forward. But I think another thing to really focus on for people is the fact that you're leading with ethics. You're leading with integrity. You're like, not only do I want to work hard for you and give you good products, but on the other side, I want to make sure that you're getting those good products the first time. I want to make sure that you are feeling trusted, that you are having this sense of, I know that this person is going to put in the work, but also back it with something that stands. Can you kind of dive a little bit deeper into your perspective on integrity and ethics in business?
Yeah, it goes, as I said, from a multitude of, personal experiences as a kid and stuff. I've seen what honesty can bring to the plate versus not being honest. And I think, to me, trust is very important. When you trust someone, then you feel comfortable with the process. We're not perfect. We're human. We make mistakes and stuff, but owning those mistakes and communicating promptly when a mistake is made is huge. And there's a lot on the line. We're teaching life-saving skills. These are people's brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, neighbors. We're dealing with life and death skills here, and it's irreplaceable. So having that high integrity is important, because you never know when you're going to have to use these skills. And in the experience, I have had the wonderful opportunity to hear back from people who've taken the classes, whether I have personally trained them or my amazing staff has trained them, to let me know that literally the next day after walking out of training, they've had to use these skills, and they did save a life. A lot of times you hear all the negative publicity with the training. So if you're not honest from the get-go, the training is going to be terrible, and the customer relationship is going to be terrible, and people are not going to come through the door.
And do you think this obviously is something that not only bleeds into your work and your instructions and the way that you hold classes, but like you mentioned earlier, this is something that bleeds into all of your instructors that are also teaching people. Was this in the beginning of you obviously starting a business? You mentioned earlier that you had no experience and that this was something that was brand new to you. What was it like going from being an employee to then having to be a leader and to teach people, and to not only teach people, but teach people in a way that you wanted them to match your ethics and your values?
So I'm going to answer this in a couple modes. So before I got into being a business owner, I had the unbelievable opportunity of having leadership jobs. I was a director of health and safety services. I was an assistant, staffing manager for that pool company, where I learned very important leadership skills. I was an aquatic, director and a supervisor. So I had a lot of experience managing anywhere from 100 to 300 people at a time. And at the same time, I had the opportunity of shadowing different business owners and different opportunities. So moving into a leadership role was natural, because I already had that experience. Being the business owner is a little bit different. And the mind frame is a little bit different, where the bucks doesn't, fall short from, from you. You are responsible for every aspect. And I knew that kind of coming in to it. The hardest transition was the work life balance. When I first started this business, you are working around the clock, 7 days a week, 24 hours, even sitting in bed at 11 o'clock when I should be shutting the brain down. I'm already thinking about the next week, what the marketing strategy is, who I'm calling to follow up with, sitting with an organization list and stuff. I've learned how to balance that. It's still not perfect, but communicating those processes, but also having a human side. That's the one thing that I have been very fortunate, is that I've witnessed my own supervisors in many different areas have that human skill, that human touch. And I'm going to refer to, one of the local day camps that I, still oversee and work with. That owner is an exact, model when it comes to how she works with her staff and how she works with her clients. She has this amazing personality about being a mother, a wife, a business owner, and she knows when someone needs that support, that emotional, support, or we call it emotional intelligence, I guess you want to call it. But she also knows when business is business, and there's a great balance. And
Yes.
that is something that will always stick with me, is to never lose that. This is why I have people that are still with me from day one of opening this business, because I think they feel valued. They feel that if there is an issue, open doors of communication is the next piece. Is you have to have open lines of communication. You have to have conversations. I say this all the time with new leaders. It's never accusatory, it's never blame. At the end of the day, when a team member makes a mistake, it's my fault as the business owner. There's somewhere along that line where I made a mistake, and some, you know what I'm saying? Not 100%, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's it's on where I made that mistake and where I communicated, that aspect.
Absolutely. I now want to transition to the human side of you. Are you happy?
Am I happy? That is a I mean, yes, I'm happy. Could I be happier? 100%. I have goals. As I said, I don't feel like I've reached all of my milestones. There are major goals that I still have left to do. I will be happier when I guess, as I said, I guess every business owner, this, every business owner has this battle of working in the day-to-day steps that in the beginning are very exciting, very rewarding. You're working for yourself, you're making those decisions. And then as you go through it, you go, oh no, why am I doing it this way? Why am I working as hard?
Yeah.
So where I'm not as happy is sometimes when I'm working longer days or working longer hours. That motto of work smarter, not harder, always comes into, why did I do it this way? What was my training thought? Obviously, the other piece of it is that work life balance. I think that there needs to be more of that for me personally, because there's a lot of sacrifice when becoming a business owner. You are taking time away from family, you're taking time away with friends, pets. Vacations are sacrificed, weddings are sacrificed. People have no idea of the blood. And again, I'm going back to blood, sweat, and tears. Whenever, I give this speech to a new business owner, I always say, get ready to grind. Because if you're not ready to grind, you're not going to succeed, and there's going to be no sustainability. So I would like to see myself have more of a better work life balance. Where I am really happy and proud is the work I have with customers, and the fact that they feel that the training that we deliver is meaningful to them and has made an impact in their personal life, especially when you see them come back and say, I saved someone's life today. That absolutely, makes my face glow, that, I made that impact.
And you mentioned that you have more goals that you want to accomplish. You have more things that you want to do in your life. What is what is one characteristic of yourself that you think that you need to work on to achieve those goals?
I'm going to have to say that, while I work through many different types of issues throughout the day, I will be the first one, and anyone who knows me, I get upset with myself very easily when things don't go according
Yeah.
to plan. I'll never forget a business owner, always said there's plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E. And we would laugh at it when we would hear it. But in retrospect, there is plan A through plan E. Plan B, C, D, and E may not come out in that moment. I have to say that some of the challenges that many of us have experienced was during COVID. I always say to people that it took, 10 years off my shelf life as a business owner because that was a land of uncertainty. Um, I need to work better and navigate through, as I said, unexpected occurrences that happen and know that I'm going to get through it because sometimes I feel like I don't know if I'm going to get through it. I am very fortunate that I am surrounded by family and friends that don't work in the business that have been a life support when I needed a shoulder to lean on or cry on or scream at or throw, something through,
Yeah.
a window. That is something that I think, that is something I need to work on because if I can work and navigate through that easier, I'm going to handle bigger problems. Because again, these are problems that happen, throughout the years and stuff. There's going to be more challenges that are going to come, you know, down the pipeline. And we're just starting, baby. Even though this is 11 years, as a business owner, I'm still starting. I'm still going. They say that, the first 3 years are the most impressionable years. And if you don't make it through year three, that's it. As I said, there's peaks and valleys, there's ups and downs, and I just have to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And the fact that you've made it, like you said, 11 years, that's amazing. And there's been a lot of uncertainty that you have been able to overcome. So I think just even relying on those past experiences, like Justin, look what I've done in the past, look at all the stuff I've accomplished. I can do it in the future. Like, what do we need to change? What can I pull from my past experiences to then bring up to the forefront? So I think being in business for 11 years alone is an impressive feat. I have one more question for you.
Sure.
If you could have dinner with two people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
So is the pet, let me ask you this question. Is the past someone who is living or someone who's deceased when you
Passed
say
away.
past?
Passed away.
Passed
Yeah.
away. So, oh, oh, this is hard because there's two people in my life that I really really value that are huge people, in my life that have made a significant impact. Wow. Um, let's move with future. Um, with future, for those that know me, I am a huge professional wrestling fan, on the side piece and stuff. And I know that when I say this name, it's going to possibly bring some negative annotation based off of the news outlets and stuff, but you got to give credit where credit is due. And I'm going to say that if I can meet someone in the future to have a business conversation with, it would be Vince McMahon. And the reason why is he has such a unique outlook when it comes to business. He built an entertainment empire that literally went from territory days to a multi-billion-dollar company. And this is a man who went from the ground up. Yes, he has made very controversial decisions, but it is someone who I would absolutely love to have a dinner conversation with just to pick his brain because he is someone who is not uncomfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Uh, Someone from the past. Wow. Ooh. Ooh. Um, I'm gonna have to go with my grandfather. And the reason why I'm going to have to go with my grandfather and my aunt up there, uh, you know exactly what you've done for me. So this is not any, as I said, anything on her. But my grandfather was a Holocaust survivor, and he has seen things in the worst imaginable experiences, being a child and a victim of heinous war crimes to succeeding and coming over to America and having to start all over with only one relative to support him. And for someone who is really, a hard worker, I got to give it to my grandfather because he has worked through such difficult measures and stuff just to sit there. and have this conversation with him, um, would be, truly amazing.
What's one lesson that you would really want to learn from him?
Well, it's a lesson. It's something that he has said, and not in exactly these exact words. Um, I kind of rephrased it into my own, and I've been using it a lot uh, with my friends and colleagues, professionally. Tears are for the pillows. And the reason for that is, if you're going to be in business, you have to have thick skin. You have to have thick skin. You are going to be told no more times than you are going to be told yes.
Yes.
And you have to not take that, personally. But at the same time, Tears Are for the Pillows has more of just, crying in the bedroom. It's also that sense of assertiveness, and that demand, that feeling of leading, in the room. You need to own, your ownership when it comes to that business. And I feel that that is something that he would say in different ways, because of what he's gone through in life, personally and professionally. We're not in this as business owners just to be second fiddle. We're here to be the best that we can, and to outdo other people, and to be competitive in the most professional, way, possible.
We want to win. Yeah, I love it. Well, Justin, thank you for sharing that with me. I think that was awesome, and I always love when people uh, pull someone from the past that's a family member, because I think that that really hits home. So those are the questions I have for you. How can people find you, and what is one thing you want to leave people with?
Sure. So you can find me literally on pretty much all the social media platforms. You can find us on, Facebook, Certifications for Life Inc. on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, at Certifications for Life Inc. TikTok. You can find us on YouTube. That's a channel that we're working on. You can find, my personal profiles on there. You can find me on Threads. You can find my website, which is www.certificationsforlifeinc.com, that is available. You will see my business advertised on the American Red Cross website, Google, and on the American Heart Association platform, because we are licensed, we are insured, and we are verified. And what I want to leave people with is the importance of preventing, any type of emergency. CPR, AED, and first aid training, while it can be expensive depending on who you go with, these are skills that do not have a price tag. At the end of the day, you have family members, friends, and loved ones that, you know, at any point in time can go into an emergency. And I'm hoping that we get community members prepared rather than learning from a tragedy.
I love it. I love it. Well, Justin, thank you for coming on the podcast today. I appreciate you sharing all the information. Like you mentioned, this is an important aspect of just life. I feel like that certain profession should definitely look into and get certified. And you leading with integrity, with you leading with ethics, I think you would be one of those people that they should definitely be going with. And if you want to stay in the room after, we can chat after this is over. But I just want to say again, thank you for coming on the podcast, sharing your knowledge. It was a great conversation. Thank you.
Easton, thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to obviously continuing to promote the free app for the customers so that they can find coupons. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, thank you.